In this next section of our video, I'll discuss the public library story time and your read aloud. So with the public library story time, I'm asking for you to go and observe a public library story time. If you're able to do this in person, if libraries are doing their story time again, I'm not sure many are. You can certainly inquire at your local public library or the Oosterhout Library in Wilkes-Barre and the Pittston Library in Pittston are two great examples that have wonderful story times for children. Last semester, a lot of my students used the Back Mountain Library. They have a Facebook page, and on their Facebook page, they had archived story times. So you were able to go in and watch the story times. Perhaps you're able to find a source where they're live streaming story times, and you can follow a librarian and watch story times that way. The reason this is important because librarians are very skilled at delivering story times. They make it a whole experience. There's usually songs and poems and finger plays. Sometimes librarians use puppets. They usually have a whole theme that they're reading books around. There's a craft. It's a really well-rounded environment. So I'm asking you to observe that. So you will, this will count towards your hour of participation. So if you watch an hour's worth of videos, you'll get an hour. If you watch a half an hour worth of videos, you'll get a half an hour accredited to your 10 hours. So you'll watch your librarian story times, and then you will briefly reflect on them. So in 1 to 2 pages, we'll follow APA format. Describe how your story time has compared to what we learned about in class. And you'll have to use at least 1 to 2 current references in your section. Again, so you're observing something that you think is a positive trait of engaging children with literacy. You're going to find a source to support that statement. It could be our textbook. It could be articles that I've given you to read. It could be something that you found on your own. So that the choice as how to find your resources is up to you. But that'll be another activity that you'll do, and this will be due in mid-March. So it's not due right away, so you have plenty of time to plan and start watching. But we can talk more about it in class. The next assignment that I'll talk about in this video is your read aloud lesson plan. So the first couple classes are going to be dedicated to learning how to select, identify, select, and then use quality literature with young children. The culminating activity of this first section of our course will be with you reading a book out loud in class to us, and then describing an activity that you would do with the children based on that book. So a big part of your grade will be the read aloud demonstration, that you chose the appropriate book, that it was a good example for a read aloud, because some books you'll see aren't meant for a read aloud. They could be too long, or they could be too complicated, or if they're just not appropriate to be read in that scenario. And that you'll utilize specific strategies that we're going to learn about. Then you're going to tell us about a lesson plan. So you're not actually going to teach the lesson plan to us. That's a little bit difficult in this virtual setting. But you will write a full lesson plan and submit that to me for grading. And then in that demonstration, you will describe that activity that you have done with the book. So it should support whatever your purpose was for reading. It should support that purpose. You should have a correct literacy standard. We're going to write a correct objective. The lesson shouldn't be just telling the student something. Well, I'm going to say this a lot this semester. Telling is not teaching. So you have to be able to create an experience for these children to participate in something that relates to this context that you've created through this book. You're going to, and it does need to relate to language in some capacity. So a craft, for example, is not appropriate. So you're not going to read The Very Hungry Caterpillar and then make a caterpillar craft. That's a wonderful thing to do, but it's not what this assignment is. So if you're going to read The Very Hungry Caterpillar, we're going to think about specific literacy activities that we can do to support the reading of this book, and you know, we will talk about those. So it's a really a fun activity. So you will need to have the book, and you will be responsible for reading it out loud in class on camera. So just be prepared for that.